On March 12, 2020, in Sedona, Arizona, a retired tech entrepreneur named Victor Langley was found dead in his desert home. It looked like a peaceful passing, no forced entry, no violence, just a 72-year-old man with heart complications who had recently changed his estate plan. But months later, investigators uncovered something far more disturbing. The person who stood to gain the most from his death had been quietly reshaping his reality for nearly 2 years. Victor Langley was not just wealthy, he was influential. He had founded a cybersecurity startup in the early 2000s that sold for millions. After his wife passed away from cancer, he relocated to Sedona for quiet living, red rock views, morning walks, minimal stress. He had one daughter, Rebecca Langley, 43, lived in San Diego, marketing executive, busy, divorced. She visited twice a year. Victor valued independence. Even as his health declined, he refused assisted living. That's when he hired Emily Carter. Emily was 36, certified caregiver, calm demeanor, empathetic voice, strong references. She began working part-time in 2018 after Victor experienced minor strokes. By 2019, she was living full-time in the guest suite. Victor trusted her with medications, meal preparation, and eventually, financial errands. Trust rarely collapses suddenly. It shifts slowly. In late 2019, Rebecca noticed subtle changes during visits. Her father seemed forgetful in unusual ways. He repeated questions. He struggled recalling recent conversations. But medical evaluations suggested only mild cognitive decline, nothing severe. Still, Rebecca sensed distance. Victor mentioned that Emily understood him better than anyone. He began referencing conversations Rebecca didn't remember having. In January 2020, Victor quietly updated his estate plan. Instead of Rebecca inheriting 100%, the new document allocated 60% to Emily. Rebecca wasn't informed. The attorney who processed the change later testified that Victor appeared coherent, confident, clear. On March 12th, Emily called 911 at 6:48 a.m., reporting that Victor was unresponsive in bed. Cause of death: cardiac arrest. Natural. Case closed. For a while, Rebecca requested access to Victor's financial records after learning about the new will. She discovered something odd. Over the past year, Victor had withdrawn nearly $400,000 in structured increments. Some transfers went into joint investment accounts shared with Emily. Rebecca confronted her privately. Emily responded calmly, "Your father wanted me secure." Rebecca pushed further. That's when she noticed something chilling. Victor's email account contained drafts he never sent. One read, "I'm not sure I'm thinking clearly. I feel pressured." Another read, "Did I already sign something?" They were saved, but unsent. Digital forensic analysis revealed something subtle. The drafts were written late at night, between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., times when medication logs showed Victor had taken prescribed sleep aids. Emily was the only other person awake during those hours. Investigators re-examined Victor's medical prescriptions. A toxicologist found traces of a medication not listed in his chart, a mild benzodiazepine, capable of increasing confusion and dependency, not lethal, but psychologically destabilizing over time. Prescription records showed it had been filled under a different patient name. The address listed? Victor's home. Emily denied knowledge, but pharmacy security footage placed her at the counter during pickup. Psychological experts described a pattern known as coercive caregiving, a dynamic where dependency is intentionally amplified. Gradual isolation, medication adjustments, subtle suggestions, repetition of phrases like, "You don't need anyone else," "You can trust me," "You don't want your daughter controlling things." Victor's journal entries shifted tone in the final year of his life. Early entries were structured, later ones fragmented. One entry read, "Sometimes I can't tell which thoughts are mine." Emily wasn't overtly violent. She was strategic. She didn't need to kill him. She needed to outlast him. Emily didn't see herself as a criminal. Investigators later learned she carried significant debt from failed real estate ventures. She believed caregiving was undervalued. She believed she earned more. Victor became not just employer, but opportunity. Her manipulation wasn't loud. It was incremental. Medication mismanagement, emotional substitution, isolation from Rebecca, suggesting legal changes as protection. By the time Victor signed the revised will, he believed it was his idea. That's the most dangerous form of control, when the victim thinks it's autonomy. The turning point came when forensic accountants traced $85,000 transferred just 2 days before Victor's death. The funds were moved into a cryptocurrency exchange account under Emily's control. When confronted with the financial trail, Emily's composure finally fractured. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She whispered, "I just accelerated what was going to happen anyway." That sentence defined the case. Prosecutors didn't argue that Emily physically murdered Victor. They argued exploitation, medical manipulation, financial coercion, unlawful administration of medication, and elder abuse leading to wrongful death. The jury examined email drafts, pharmacy footage, bank transfers, journal entries. They listened to expert testimony describing how subtle psychological erosion can alter decision-making. After 2 days of deliberation, guilty on multiple counts of financial exploitation, unlawful medication administration, and elder abuse. The court invalidated the altered estate plan. Rebecca regained full inheritance. Emily received 18 years in prison. At sentencing, Rebecca spoke quietly. She didn't push him downstairs. She didn't poison him in one night. She rewrote his confidence. Victor believed he was choosing freely. Emily believed she was correcting unfairness. But karma doesn't measure justification. It measures action. In the desert silence of Sedona, there were no dramatic confrontations, just paperwork, prescriptions, transfers, and a slow rewriting of the future. Emily thought time was on her side, but time keeps records, and records don't forget. If this case made you reflect on how subtle manipulation can be more dangerous than visible violence, subscribe to The Hidden Truth, because sometimes the most devastating crimes happen quietly, one decision at a time.